Weezer have dropped a new colourful album, but not the black one that we were expecting. That's the absence of colour. Also, Rival Sons have an album out. It's called Feral Roots. And I don't have any CD footage to show you guys because Weezer's is a digital download at the moment, and it's January and I've got no fucking money, so I can't buy any CDs, so this has all been done on Spotify. Right, okay, so here we are for another video, and I'm going to be doing two shorter videos this, well, maybe not shorter videos, but I'm going to be combining some albums this week in a desperate bid to try and catch up and get some videos out. Last week was not an easy week in terms of things that I had to get done, so God, you don't care. None of you care. Nobody asked how I was doing. Yes, in this video I'm going to be doing a brief review of Weezer's Teal album and also Rival Sons with their Feral Roots album. I'm in a different location now, so how could I pass up filming in this dystopian fucking backdrop? Jesus Christ. This is how I'm spending my Sunday, catching up doing videos for you guys. Fucking bullshit. This album, by the way, was a surprise release as well. I don't think anybody was expecting this. It was just released on, I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday, but suddenly this album was out. We are still going to be getting the Black Album in March 1st, I think it might be. This was kind of just a digital release only. I think they are doing pre-order CDs on their website for it, but this was just to kind of tie fans over until we get to the Black Album. Now, I am a Weezer fan. I do enjoy the band a lot. I think they've done a lot of great stuff. That melding of pop-like sensibilities. I've always loved their heavy guitar tones as well. I've always appreciated their heavy guitar tones, and they're a good band. They're a good band. Oh, one thing as well. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with cover albums. I understand why they're done, because it introduces a whole new generation to older music, and it's the current successful band paying homage to the people who inspired those. But a lot of times cover songs fall a little short of the mark. They lack the passion, they lack the life of the original. But not always. What I'm basically trying to say is that this video has inspired me to do another video next week, which is going to be another top 10 list, which is going to be another top 10 list of my top 10 favourite cover songs. I'd like you to get your lists together. I started going through it last night, actually. It was started coming together fairly quickly. This doesn't have to be metal either. Every now and then you do get a cover version that actually beats the original. And I've certainly got my top 10 put together already. So get yours together, and that'll be coming out sometime next week. This was supposed to be a short video, but I keep going on and on and on. Okay, so first up we got Africa by Toto, of course. Chances are a lot of you would have heard this. I think this was originally released maybe summer of last year. It seems like it's been out for a while now, and it's a pretty cool cover actually. Now I will say right from the off, they didn't really make any of these covers their own. They're pretty standard covers, all of them. I do like it when bands kind of put their own spin on a cover, and that is not the case with this. However, this version is pretty good. I enjoyed this one a lot. Next up we got Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, originally by Tears for Fears. This just doesn't cut it for me. This is not that good a version. It kind of lacks something. There's one part where it kind of amped up a bit. We got some sort of heavier guitars in there, kind of made it their own a little bit more at that part. But for the most, by and large, this was a pretty standard cover, and yeah, just nowhere near the original. And I would say the same for their cover of the Eurythmics Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Of course, Marilyn Manson did a version of this about 20 odd years ago now. He really made that his own, just dark and sinister and nasty. This just kind of a retread of the original, and yeah, not too good. And then we get Take On Me by Aha originally, and again it just lacks something. I think it's River's voice. His voice works for Weezer, and I think he does have a good voice, but it just lacks something throughout these songs. It just doesn't sit well with me. I'd like to say as well that I'm a fan of all the songs on this album as well. Okay, Happy Together, originally by the Turtles. This one actually worked really well, and I think this is kind of you can really hear the influence that this had on Weezer. It's got that kind of 60s surf, kind of Happy Days kind of vibe to it as well. I think it lends itself quite well to what Weezer do, and yeah, this one actually I like quite a lot. I thought this one worked very well. Next up we got a cover of Sabbath's Paranoid. Now, I like the instrumentation on this. I thought the band did a solid job, and as I said earlier, I do like their heavier tones. I kind of like the guitar sound on this. I thought it was great. Ironically enough, I had issues with the voice on this again, but for other reasons, because River actually, he multi-tracks his voice and uses a lot of effects, I'm guessing, on it to sound exactly like Ozzy. I don't know, that kind of bugged me for some reason. Next up we have Mr. Blue Sky, originally by the Electric Light Orchestra, and I thought they actually did a really solid job of this song. I enjoyed this one. Next up there was a decent enough version of No Scrubs by TLC originally. They've had a bit of an onslaught of people wondering why they did this and giving them shit for it. I don't really understand why. If you're doing a covers album, I don't see why one song should be discriminated against another. For what it is, I think it's a pretty solid version. I think they do an okay version of it. Kind of weird to hear him talking about not wanting to get together with a broke-ass man, but, you know, each to their own. Then we have Billie Jean, of course, by Michael Jackson originally. There's no way this can compare to the original. Rivers did actually, his voice did actually kind of, he didn't do a too bad job. He does have quite a high range. He can hit those higher notes. There were parts of this I enjoyed. There were heavier parts again as well. They kind of made it their own, which I thought worked particularly well. Yeah, just can't compare to the original. Where be we now? And then we have the final track, Stand By Me, originally by Ben E. King. Not a terrible version, but there's no way Rivers' voice can compare to that of Ben's. It's just, his voice on that song is just so iconic. You know, it just doesn't even compare. So, in terms of a score, I think I'd give this a 5 out of 10. Like most covers albums, is it needed? Not really. Is there any issue with it? No, not at all. Just didn't really bring too much new to anything. And all I kind of thought when I was listening to it was I'd rather be listening to the originals. Don't get me wrong, it was an enjoyable enough listen purely because the songs are so good. They're all iconic songs. But I'm not sure it was necessarily needed. But having said that, I am very much looking forward to the Black Album, which is coming out in March, and I will be doing a review of that. Love Weezer, just not a huge fan of this covers album. Right, so now very quickly I just want to mention Rival Sons with their new album, Feral Roots. This is their 6th studio album. This is a really solid album. I really enjoyed this one a lot. Obviously heavily inspired by a lot of 70s rock music. There's definitely a strong Zeppelin vibe. You've got 70s era, sort of Sticky Fingers era, Rolling Stones. Hints of Sabbath in there. There's a couple of riffs in there that are very sort of Sabbath in feel. And also you've got the more traditional blues stuff like Muddy Waters and Howling Wolf all thrown in there. Very good band. One thing I'll say right from the beginning, vocalist Jay Buchanan is awesome. Amazing vocalist. Really enjoy listening to this guy sing. All the guys can play really solid. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. Scott Holiday on guitar, great guitar player. Dave Best on bass, and a lot of real fuzzed out bass on this album, which I really enjoyed. I love that fuzzed out bass tone. Fantastic stuff. And also we have Mike Miley on drums, who does a solid job. I am a real sucker for that 70s inspired drum fill. You know what I mean? A sort of Bill Ward style jazzy kind of drum fill that just eats up a lot of the song. I love that stuff. There's plenty of that on this album. Opening track, Do Your Worst, is an amazing start. Some great riffing, again straight in with that real Zeppelin sound. Huge chorus on it as well, I really enjoyed. There's a song called Look Away, which has a very Zeppelin vibe. It has a kind of open string, Friends kind of droning quality to it as well. We get a song called Too Bad, which has some very strong Sabbath inspired riffage. Stood By Me, again that's the one that kind of has a real, I found that really had that kind of funky 70s Rolling Stones sound to it. And the closing song, Shooting Stars, was fantastic. Real gospel quality to it. Get that kind of gospel choir joining in, those female vocals for a really, really strong closer. It's a real shame that I didn't get a bit more time to be able to do a proper review of this album, because I really enjoyed this one a lot. In terms of score, I'd give this an 8 out of 10. If you love a lot of that 70s inspired blues, heavy rock, you're really going to enjoy this album. Fantastic stuff, 8 out of 10. Okay, so that's it for the first of my catch-up videos. I'm now just going to go and film another duo, which will be for King 810 with their new album Suicide King. Also in that video I'm going to be covering Swallow the Sun, their new album. So that will be out, if not tomorrow, in a day or two. I'm also going to get something out on my PMA channel, Free to Be Positive. If any of you haven't checked that out, check that out. In terms of next week, I'm going to be back with Within Temptation. Their new album's coming out. And as I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to do my top 10 cover songs. So get your list together for that as well. Doesn't have to be metal by any stretch of the imagination. Just get a list together. Just enjoy yourself. Go for it, go for it, go for it.